strange compulsion made men etch vast designs on the face of the earth, on downland and desert, on the slopes of solitary mountains. Why can so many only be seen from the air? What is their message from the distant past? Mysteries for Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001 and inventor of the communication satellite. Now in retreat in Sri Lanka, after a lifetime of science, space, and writing, he ponders the riddles of this and other worlds.
For thousands of years, people have drawn figures, cut designs in the landscape, apparently for no one on Earth to see. One of the strangest wonders of this great rock of Sigiriya here in Sri Lanka is this gallery of frescoes on a sheer cliff, hundreds of feet up in the sky. Yet, until a modern staircase was constructed, no one could possibly have seen them properly. So why was this done? And who are these charming ladies? Similar questions can be asked of figures in many other parts of the world.
Dawn breaks over the Nazca Desert of Peru, and a hazardous experiment designed to prove that primitive Indians could fly 2,000 years ago. American explorer Jim Woodman leads the team. The hot air balloon is made of materials which the ancient Indians are known to have had. Woodman's gondola of reeds is based on the traditional boats of Lake Titicaca. The balloonists risked their lives to try to unravel a mystery etched on the desert beneath them. A fantastic picture book of shapes and lines. Lines so strange and enigmatic that some have imagined they served as an airport built for ancient astronauts. Lines invisible to man until modern aviation came to South America. So grand is the design that Jim Woodman believes the Nazca Indians could only have laid out and admired their giant scratch pad, 200 square miles of it, from the air. American astronomer Gerald Hawkins has tried to map Nazca.
This map extends 3 miles long and 2 miles wide, and almost all of the lines run off the edge. So right away you know they're more than 3 miles long. The longest line on record that I personally know about is about 20 to 22 miles long. And they can go even further than that. And they are perfectly straight. There are triangles. There are radiating triangles. And there are zigzags. In fact, it is a maze, and it is quite a problem to begin to study this textbook on the surface of the desert.
Hawkins was called in to crack the code of the Nazca lines, which had bewildered archaeologists for more than 40 years. In 6 expeditions, his team painstakingly mapped the desert floor. They made precise measurements, not only of the lines, but of huge drawings of creatures as well. A bird, a whale. The question was, how and why did the Nazca Indians make the lines and drawings?
¡Más! ¡Más! ¡Un poquito a la izquierda! ¡Mucho! ¡Alto!
The lines turn out to be the lesser problem. In this experiment, Peruvian schoolboys using ranging poles took only minutes to lay out a perfectly straight line. They removed the surface stones to reveal the yellow sand beneath.
¡No se muevan de su sitio!
But the vast figures must have been not only an immense labor, but almost unimaginably difficult to draw, unless the Indians really did have the power of flight, or had mastered a sophisticated technique of scaling up small drawings. Whatever the method, the results were perfect.
Actually, a bad mistake on this desert would still show. The lines are 2,000 years old, and if somebody had goofed, we would see their goof. I don't see any errors here.
Hawkins fed the information into a computer. The most likely theory had been that the lines were an astronomical calendar, pointing to the rising and setting places of the sun, moon, and stars.
Our immediate conclusion was that the lines as a whole are not an astronomical textbook for calendric purposes. Strangely enough, the lines that seem to work astronomically have a little picture on the end. Here we have a spider, and that line does indeed point to Orion. Here we have a condor bird, and this line does indeed point to the rising of the sun at midsummer and midwinter. But the overriding result that we found was that there were no 2 or 3 centuries in the history of this spot on the world where every line would fit the sun, moon, or star.
But one clue did emerge later to help explain the Nazca riddle. It came from the nearby Altiplano Indians, who still remembered stories about making desert lines.
The results that were obtained by questioning the Altiplano Indians show that the lines that they built were pointing to what they would call gods. These gods took many, many forms. One form the god could take would be a mountain peak. The higher the mountain peak, the greater the god. We also know there was a tendency to point to anything that was regarded as holy. Perhaps a place where a Yama gave birth, perhaps a place where a rainbow was seen to end. But whatever these lines point to, it is going to be a mixture. There is no one particular object. The only thing that connects the lines together is that they probably point to god objects, and they probably are pathways connected with these gods. And so the only common denominator is that they are pathways to the gods.
But the urge to leave an imprint upon the landscape is also a curiosity of the English countryside. The first of these badges was cut by soldiers of the Great War in idle hours before rifle practice. This horse was cut by Lord Abingdon's steward, Mr. G, in 1778. But all the 50 or more chalk figures of England have to be cared for, from generation to generation. One of the oldest is the Cerne giant, the rude man of Cerne. But no one knows why he was cut or even what his name is, although the locals have a few ideas.
Well, I think he's a Celtic god, really. A sex symbol.
We did have one girl that was been married for about 7 years and hadn't managed to have a child, so we told her to go and sit on the giant. Apparently, he was supposed to sit up there with your knickers off. I don't know whether she did that or not. But the next spring, she was pregnant.
I look at him every day. I think he is a sex symbol because he does wonders for me.
Others say the giant depicts a dissolute 16th century abbot from a nearby monastery. Or Lord Hollis, an 18th century landowner lampooned by rebellious servants. But the key to the giant's identity may lie in something now missing from the drawing. What did he have in his left hand?
Either a trophy, since he's brandishing a club, or perhaps his wife, a woman.
Well, I've heard a theory that it's